Your life will change when you allow it to change. Your reality will change when you allow it to change. What do I mean by that? Well, if you've ever experienced having a true desire, a heart's desire, wanting to manifest anything into your experience, especially the desires that we feel we desperately want, and when it feels like those things aren't coming into reality, usually it's how they're narrating reality, what they're saying is happening in their life, right? What they're identifying with. And I look at it as how tightly they are grasping how things unfold and move about. So in other words, you have a constant choice. It is always within your right to decide how you're going to narrate your life, meaning how you would define it to someone else if you were asked, who do you believe you are? Well, how would you define that? Are you someone that is open to the idea that everything can work out for you? That you really can have the things that you're currently desiring? Because if they're not showing up in your reality right now, it's not because you can't have them. It's definitely not because they're not meant for you. Because you don't lack anything. You're whole with the divinity of Source. Not always easy to believe that, but you are. You're more than just the human meat sack that you've believed that you are. But I've been talking about things not changing, or when someone consistently looks at reality and decides it's not working, manifestation is not working. I've been talking about that a lot lately because it's a shitty thing to think. It doesn't make you feel good. And truthfully, you have no idea what is happening, good or bad. You really don't. Your part in this is making that conscious decision who you are. How would you define that? How would you tell someone who you are? How do you narrate your reality? If you yourself are already all there is, because you are unconditioned consciousness, your true self is unconditioned consciousness. So how do you narrate? How would you define your reality? And if you know that you would narrate it or define it in any way other than how you want it to be, well, ask yourself, why? Why would you deliberately do that? Why would you keep telling yourself or continue to identify as the self you don't want to be? So when I mentioned gripping reality, again, that's the idea of if everything doesn't present itself in exactly the way you expect it to unfold, you assume then this has failed or this is not working. It's just not true. If things don't look the way you want them to right now, ask yourself, how do you really narrate reality? How do you really define yourself? Who do you identify as? And like I said, if they're not the who you want to be, if it's not the reality you want it to be, and you know you're not narrating it that way, you're not deciding this is what's happening for you, and you're looking at life like things don't work out for you, blah, 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 well, then are you really surprised? Are you really shocked? If you want change, you be the change. How do you be the change? By remembering that you are already all there is. Pure, unadulterated consciousness.